Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic has been requested by one of my subscribers, Sunil Dikshit again, so thank you. And I'm going to be talking about how to effectively use your youth. So I want to start this off by saying again, any video I do put out there is just how I would approach something and it's like my take on it, so it's not necessarily facts or that, this is the only right answer, it's just how I would approach things. So, I want to say that however old you are, I think you can always change to where you want to be or change your circumstance to where you want to eventually go. And I say this because I think that, when people say, "Oh, you wasted your youth," or "You should have done that when you were younger," like it's discouraging sometimes because, I think we still have a lot of potential when we're older than our youthful age. Um, and I think society has sometimes taught us to kind of push our desires away and be like, oh, once you're a certain age, you shouldn't have the desire to do this or do that. And I think it's ridiculous, and I think we should stop thinking that way. Um, and I will say that, yeah, maybe when you're older, it might be harder depending on your circumstances or, what else you've kind of built your life into. It might be harder to get to your goals, but it's not impossible to. And I think with the right mindset and the right support, I think you can still accomplish them. So, I also want to say that nothing needs to be done at a specific age to be considered an accomplishment. I feel like, when people are like, oh yeah, this person started a business and it was like they became a millionaire when they were like in their early 20s, or this person went to the Olympics when they were like a teenager and things like that. Um, yeah, those are still great accomplishments, but just because if you have a similar accomplishment that you've done past the age of 20, it doesn't make it less of an accomplishment. It's still equally it's still equally valid, I would say, regardless of your age. So don't feel like, oh, well, I accomplished this later in life, so it doesn't even mean that much. I would say that's not true at all. Being older comes with its own challenges, and to overcome those is not an easy feat as well. So, definitely give yourself the credit that you deserve because it's not easy to accomplish anything at any age. So, I want to start by saying what exactly is youth? I think, we all have different definitions of what youth is or like what age group it is. But I think typically I would say it's like from the age of like your teenage years to when you're 30, I guess would be considered youth. Um, and I also want to say that I don't want people to think that only youth can get things done and no one else can get anything done. Obviously, yeah, youth have more energy, they have more. Um, I don't want to say they necessarily have more time because being a youth comes with its own stresses as well. But they definitely, I would say, do have more energy and maybe not the responsibility of, let's say, a family or some other financial responsibility besides themselves. And of course, it doesn't apply to every youth. But in general, yeah, they kind of do the main concern they have is kind of figuring out where they're going in life and establishing themselves. Um, but that being said, like, I don't think it means that only youth can get things done and that no one else can. Um, and even the stuff that youth do get done, like, it is still an accomplishment in itself. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, youth can't do anything. Of course they can. They've done amazing things for the world. Um, but I don't want it to discourage like elderly or like older people who like are so-called past their youth to be like, oh well, if youth are doing everything, like what can I do? Like you can still do something. If you're human, if you have a brain, if you have talents, you can do anything, truly. So I want to start by saying when you are in your youth and you're thinking about, okay, how do I accomplish what I want to accomplish? Of course, you have to have goals first. And maybe you're not sure exactly what you want to pursue, and you're like, well, what am I going to do in life? And this is where I say that, explore everything, figure out what you like, what you are good at, and basically try to figure out, like, I would say a trifecta of things. Figure out, what you're passionate about, what you have some inherent talent for, and when you put in the hard work, what gives you the results you want. I feel like when you combine all these three things together, like, you can pretty much be unstoppable. And I say this because don't try to aimlessly go after things that you know you have no interest for, or you don't really find yourself like drawn to just because everyone else is telling you to do them. Because it doesn't make any sense to do those things if it's not part of that trifecta of an equation. And so put all those three things together and then decide that, okay, this is what I can pursue. And of course, don't limit yourself either. If you find that there's more than one thing, try to see how you're going to incorporate them all into, your ultimate goals of life. And then find mentors, learn, research, go through trial and error, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. This is very important because that's where most of our growth happens. And I feel like, you can still, obviously we all make mistakes throughout our life, but I feel like in your youth, it's kind of like you can kind of afford to make mistakes and somehow it's not, they won't always be easy to recover from, but I feel like they're somewhat easier to recover from in your youth than when you're older. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Of course, don't recklessly make mistakes, but if something didn't go as anticipated, don't, be let down by it, and don't think that this is the end and I can't continue to pursue my dreams. No, just see it as a setback, learn from it, and keep going. And then think about your short and long-term happiness and what you want, currently, and what you want for your future. So enjoy the present moment, enjoy the process of what you're going through, and do find things that truly you just have fun with. Even though you're working hard, you need to have an outlet, and you need to have things that you do outside of just working, whether it's you hang out with your friends or you have another hobby and things like that. Have those things for yourself to keep you sane. But don't overindulge in something. There's a difference between, having balance and relaxing and then overindulging. Because when you start overindulging, you start losing your perception and what you're working towards, and then it sets you back. Now, if it happens, can you still recover from it? Of course you can, but it'll definitely take more work. So try not to get to the point of overindulging and being oh, I've let myself slip too much. But if you do get to that point, don't think it's the end of the world. You can drag yourself out of it, but just try not to get there in the first place. And then also learn how to manage your money. And I say this because, I don't think money is everything, obviously, but managing it is important. If you know that you have a certain, lifestyle you want or a certain way you want to live, know what that requires and start managing your money around that. But don't think that, I don't want anyone to be money is everything, because it really isn't everything. But you do need money to survive. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. So learn about finances, learn about, how to manage your money, and definitely try to start working as early as you possibly can. Start learning about, what it takes to be have a job and maintain a job and things like that. And also, if you start working, you'll realize what careers are for you and what aren't for you. So, start giving yourself accountability as early as you can, little by little. And by the time, you are a youth or you're past your youth, I feel like you will have acquired enough skills to be able to, manage your life properly. And then learn how to deal with your emotions in a healthy way as well. Mental health is very important throughout life, and I feel like the earlier you figure out how you're going to handle it, the easier it's going to be. Because if you let your emotions go unchecked, they can start building up on you, and you can cause a lot more trauma for yourself. So there's nothing wrong with emotions, obviously. I think emotions are very important, but there's a difference between knowing, acknowledging, and letting yourself feel them, and then just letting them overpower every aspect of your life. You don't want your emotions to control you. You want to control your emotions. So, and that being said, if you are feeling sad or mad or whatever, let yourself feel those things in a healthy way. Do it in a healthy way. Don't do it in a way where it's going to hurt you or it's going to hurt other people. And along with that, learn also how to be a lone wolf. It's nice to have friends and family, but people change depending on, what they think is good for them. And learn how to, enjoy the company that you have, but learn how to not build a codependency on your company. Because when you start building a codependency on others, you lose who you are kind of in a way. And it's not easy when some person decides to leave your life or something like that, because then you feel like they owe you something, which no one owes anyone anything. as far as it comes to when it's happiness, you are in charge of your own happiness and, how you want to perceive your life. So please, don't be afraid of, obviously, of talking to people and making friends and having relationships. Do those things, but realize when you're starting to build a codependency and try not to get there. And learn how to enjoy your own company, be your own best friend, because you only have yourself until you die. So if you're not going to learn to enjoy your own company, it's not going to be easy. So learn who you are, learn how to enjoy being alone. And I feel like when you do that, you also start enjoying the company you have genuinely as well. And then when it comes to relationships, any relationship, whether it's romantic or friendships or family, learn that, you don't have to be afraid of exploring when it comes to relationships. And I say this because they all teach you more about yourself. Now, if you are somebody that, you're like, let's take a romantic relationship, for example, and you're like, I just want to meet one person and I want that person to be my soulmate. If that's who you are, great. I don't think that's an impossible goal to have, but also realize that in order to figure that out, sometimes you might end up being with people who you thought were the one, but they don't end up being the one. And that doesn't mean that you suck at relationships or that they suck at relationships. It's just maybe that it was the right person at the wrong time, the wrong person at the right time. And what you want is the right person at the right time, if that's what you want, if you want a serious relationship. Now, if you want something casual or something, then, that's fine too. But make that clear to the person that you're going to, be with. And along with that, don't feel like, you have to be pressured into anything. Know your boundaries and have self-respect. And when I say know your boundaries, if you're in a relationship and you're somebody that isn't ready to be intimate, let's say, but the person keeps pressuring you to, that's probably not the person you want to be with. Because if someone cares about you and your boundaries, they won't pressure you to do something you're not ready for yet. They'll be patient with you if they truly care about you. And don't feel like you have to change your boundaries just to get somebody to like you. That is the hugest mistake you should never make. If you do decide to change your boundaries, do it for yourself. Let's say if you are somebody that you haven't explored your sexuality yet, and that's something that you decide you want to do now for yourself, yes, go ahead and do that. Or if you're somebody that has explored your sexuality and you want to, kind of be celibate for a while because that's what you want, do that. But do that for yourself. Don't do it because someone else is trying to, is telling you, oh, you should be more, promiscuous, or you shouldn't be that promiscuous. No. Do it because you want to do it. Don't change your boundaries for anyone, because I don't care how rich they are, how handsome they are, whatever. At the end of the day, we all have the same internal organs, and when we die, we're all going to become dust. At that point, it's not going to matter what your bank account is, or, how tall you are, or, what face structure you have. It's not going to matter. And these are all external things anyways. Anyone, it's not difficult in this day and age to be attractive or, to look a certain way. So don't change your boundaries just because you're like, oh wow, I'll never find someone that handsome again or successful again. Instead, take that energy and be like, well, why don't I just become that handsome or successful? I don't have to be with someone like that to enjoy that. So don't change your boundaries for anyone, because if someone truly cares about you, they will respect your boundaries. And then along with that line, have self-respect for yourself. And by self-respect, I don't mean that, you have to be oh, I'm not going to have sex until marriage or whatever. Self-respect is, again, knowing your boundaries and not letting someone treat you take you for granted. And you can still have self-respect and, explore your sexuality, be in casual relationships, do things like that if that's what you want. But the moment you realize someone is, just kind of taking you for granted, or if someone shames you for being sexual or exploring your sexuality, that, and you still decide to be with them, that's basically you losing self-respect for yourself. So realize that you can do the things you want to do with self-respect. And self-respect just means you knowing who you are, what you want, and not letting other people make you feel ashamed for it and put you down for it. So that's what I mean when I say have self-respect for yourself. And then always listen to your intuition as well. I say this because I feel like our intuition is like, it's like a fight or flight for us. Like, it tells us like this is dangerous, like, or this is good. And I say this also because just don't think you have to do something because everybody else is doing it, because you might not be ready for that yet. Like, for example, like if all of your friends are getting married or engaged and they're in their like mid 20s and you're in your mid 20s, but you still don't feel ready for it. Like, don't think, oh, I have to get married or I have to have a relationship or whatever just because all of my friends do. Like, no, there's a reason you aren't ready for it yet, and when you are ready for it, you'll know it. So listen to your intuition, don't ignore it. I feel like a lot of the time when we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, it's because we don't listen to our intuition. So please do listen to it. I would say like 90 to 95% of the time, it is right, and it's there for a reason. It's catered to you and what you're comfortable with and what's going to work best with you in your life. So please do listen to it. And also, build healthy habits early on. When it comes to things like fitness and exercise, I know most people like maybe think that, oh, well, I only have to worry about those things when like I'm 30 plus, like I don't have to worry about them now. That's not true, because yeah, maybe you can get away with not exercising and eating like terribly in your 20s, but it will catch up to you at some point. And when you're older, it's going to be much harder to build those lifestyle habits than when you're younger. You can still do them when you're older, but it's just going to be harder. So if you have like, if you're able to like start in your 20s, even start in your teenage years if you can. Learn how to eat healthy and still enjoy your junk food in moderation. I'm not saying you have to give up junk food completely, but learn how to enjoy it in moderation, and also learn like what kind of exercise you like. Learn how you like working out and things like that, because that's something that is important for you, because exercise does release endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. So who doesn't like being happy? So learn how to do those things, and learn like, and you don't have to, just because it's one thing worked for one person, one diet or one eating habit or exercise works for one person, doesn't mean it's going to have the same effect on you. So you have to kind of experiment with those things. So figure out, what works for you, and don't be afraid to try different things as well. And realize that, when you take care of yourself, it's not just for external like appearance either. Like, yeah, it helps when you eat healthy and exercise, but it really nurtures you from the inside as well, and it kind of gives you like this natural beauty that, you can't really find with like, no matter how much makeup you put on or how much you groom yourself. That aspect of that natural glow that comes from within, it is from taking care of yourself. So do that for yourself, and it's not just good for you physically, but it'll definitely help you mentally as well and help you be like calm. And then last but not least, I want to say that being a youth, it's easy to always want to be like, I want the answers to everything. I want to know if this is right or this is wrong. And I say that, there's life is like a completely, like, it's always a gray area. There's no like black and white ever, really, because uncertainty is everywhere. Yeah, it is. In every aspect of your life, uncertainty is there. But I don't think that's something we should be afraid of, and hide from. I think that's something we should embrace and learn from and grow from. Because I think uncertainty helps us come to a state of homeostasis, when we let ourselves, go on two spectrums completely, like always, like whether we're always happy or we're always sad, we don't understand that we need to be at homeostasis. And I think uncertainty helps us get to that point, because we kind of do realize that, no one owes us anything and we don't owe anyone anything. We just owe ourselves this one thing of, trying to be happy and being the best person we can be. So don't be afraid of uncertainty, embrace it, and if things don't go your way a certain way, like don't be dejected, because of that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can feel sad about it, but don't let it consume your life. Learn how you're going to grow from it, and realize that, if one thing didn't work out, it's probably because something else will. So don't lose hope, and just keep going. So I hope this message helped you guys. And if you did like this message, then please do hit that like button and do subscribe if you want, more content like this. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.